It's the morning after the increase of the petrol price here in Nigeria, and I wonder how a number of people are going to commute to work today because we're already starting to see the queues doubling up from what they were yesterday. Traffic yesterday back to the house was terrible, and I really do hope that it doesn't further reduce the morale of people to show up at their workplace, so that bosses, can be more open to remote work. Welcome to Breakfast Central. I am Olive Emodi.
What a sad way to start the show. I am Osaogi Obama. Thank you for joining us. Wednesday morning's edition of Breakfast Central. As always, we would encourage you to tweet at us this morning. Let us know your thoughts on any of the stories that we're discussing. And of course, if you have concerns concerning the petrol price increase, also quickly share with us. Yes, just like Oliver's mentioned, the new realities are slowly starting to hit Nigerians. With the new price of petrol, on the average, about 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 naira, for a liter of petrol in different parts of the country. Here in Lagos, of course, many people had already said initially that in the southeast and in some states in the south, petrol was already selling for 1,100, 1,200 naira. It's just here in Lagos that it sounds strange, but that reality has started to hit Nigerians, and it's going to go beyond just buying petrol. It's obvious that it will affect the cost of living and the price of goods and services across Nigeria. Foodstuff, of course, is expected that the price of foodstuff will also increase. Inflation figures are expected to rise, with these things, with this petrol price increase. So many aspects of our daily lives and our realities will be affected.
Right.
And Nigerians will just have to make adjustments, as we always do. And the argument about whether petrol price is 1,000 naira or more or less in Ghana or in Kenya and Somalia and different places that are being called across the country, and maybe even in different continents, always needs to be put side by side with what the minimum wage is for those countries. And if Nigerians who are still earning 30,000 naira minimum wage are having to pay 1,100, 1,200, maybe more for a liter of petrol, that is completely unfair and completely inhumane.
Absolutely. I mean, the reality of what this is for Nigerians and how it's affected our daily living, we can't put it in words. Yesterday on the way home, the reality was that there were terrible queues. We're in traffic from the mainland to the island. You would see about 3 hours, people being stuck in traffic, and it wasn't letting up. There were people who were getting cranky for the slightest reasons. People would just start fighting now, fighting more, not necessarily because they want to, but because there's a high level of frustration. Tension is high. It just feels like we haven't caught a break. It's been back to back to back, one bad news or the other. And it's very difficult being able to insulate yourself from the reality of what this news is. It's one thing to say, I'll shut my mind from this, I'll protect my mental health and not watch the news. But the reality will hit you, Whilst you're trying to recover from one or grapple from the effect of one, another one is happening almost immediately. The petrol scarcity, I think what's worse is not just the fact that the price of petrol has been increased, but what's worse is the fact that the product is still largely unavailable. Dangote Refinery made landmark progress yesterday, I believe, when they officially announced that they were ready to roll, and that after conversations with the NNPC, they'll be more than ready, and negotiations with the NNPC, they'll be more than ready to serve. They've also said the NNPC will be the sole purchaser or the sole purchaser of their petrol, and then can sell to other oil marketers and the likes. I think part of the conversations we're going to be looking at today will be how exactly this will make life better for Nigerians. I think beyond the rhetorics, Nigerians want to see how this will make life better for them, how there will be accessibility to products. So can the provision of or the kicking off the Dangote refineries, will it impact the pricing, even though many people largely doubt that it will impact the pricing? Will it increase availability of products? Will the Dangote refinery now be able to produce enough to meet with our current demands? So I think these are some of the questions that we hope we can get some answers to. But kudos to Dangote Refinery for being able to pull this off. They've talked about, just a few weeks back, Dangote was on TV almost every day granting press interviews, and it felt like it was Dangote against some unknown forces. They had criticized the quality of his product, talking about it being subpar. But today he's been able to come out and tell us that what he's offering is Euro 5, not just the regular petrol, it's basically something that can compete with international standards, taking into cognizance the fact that we're looking at reducing our emission of greenhouse gases. So it's great product, and we're hoping that this would change the narrative of, or maybe not change, but improve the current realities that we have when it comes to production of fuel.
Yeah, I mean, I think Nigerians just want it to be available. The quality, and of course the carbon emissions conversation is the least relevant thing to the average Nigerian. A lot of 9 out of 10 Nigerians don't care about, that aspect.
Well,
they just
their
want,
cars and their
petrol.
engines will thank them later for it.
No,
because
I don't think so. I think that is a good selling point, but nobody has ever driven into a petrol station and they tell you that you are buying in this petrol station because this one has the best quality for. Nobody buys petrol like that in Nigeria.
It's the same petrol they're all buying anyway. They're all buying from the NNPC. However, but I do think that it's important to highlight that it's a great, great feat.
In my opinion, it's good marketing, and it's definitely to some extent, for petroleum, analysts or experts. You can point out the positives in the product being that quality. Great, but it's not enough, it doesn't make any difference if Nigerians are still going to buy it for 1,100 naira.
Well, I don't think that is...
Or 1,000 naira.
I honestly don't know if Dangote is going to ensure that we're going to see a reducing cost
that's
immediately.
The point.
Maybe in the long run, because maybe what would then start to factor into consideration is we can't say that we're importing petrol anymore. There will be maybe a reduction on the pressure of FX, because currently we have to use FX to purchase, petrol. So maybe in the long run, but immediately, I don't know that we'll see an immediate reduction.
That exactly is the point, and that's the conversations that Nigerians will have. We're still waiting for the Port Harcourt Refinery to kick in. The NNPC being the sole buyer of Dangote petrol. Why isn't it open to other petrol marketers across the country? These are some of the things that people will definitely,
well,
be asking.
maybe because of we're still having conversations about the deregulation of downstream. So for now, it might not be possible that we'll do that until we've sorted out that leg of the conversation. But then again, I completely agree with you in the sense of Nigerians just want to be able to see, can I get petrol? And can I get petrol at a decent rate? The astronomical rise of the price of petrol in the past few months is something that we can't fathom. You go from buying petrol 2 years ago, 185,000 naira, and it went through different stages and shot up to 617, and now we're doing over 800 naira. And that's at NNPC rate, meaning that at the other filling stations it's going to be more, meaning that the black market is going to be more. And like you've mentioned earlier, it's going to be reflected in the cost of goods and services. Which way Nigeria?
The average Nigerian wants to know that they can buy petrol. That's one. The average Nigerian wants to know that they can afford, to even buy petrol. The average Nigerian needs to know the reasons why petrol might be selling for 1,000 naira or more at the, the filling stations besides the NNPC. The average Nigerian needs some clarity on what exactly is going on. Are we paying subsidy or we're no longer paying subsidy? The average Nigerian needs to know these things.
Well, the good thing is...
And doesn't seem like, the government has been honest enough. The average Nigerian also needs to be certain that he or she can afford it with his 30,000 naira minimum wage. One of the key aspects of the whole conversation, well, it's still 30,000 naira until people actually start paying 70,000 naira. The fact that it has been approved. I think we had a conversation a couple of days ago, and the guest was saying that there's no clarity as to whether the federal government has even started paying the 70,000 naira to federal government workers, talkers of state workers. So for now, we would assume it's still 30,000 naira until there's full confirmation that it is 70,000 naira across the country. And of course, this includes private sector paying that 70,000 naira minimum wage. One of the things that we've repeatedly spoken about or raised here is, should Nigeria make it a decision for itself that it should subsidize energy? If you remember, Ikechukwu Amechi brought this up yesterday. It's not strange for countries to put some level of subsidies for their citizens. So for some people, it might be power. For some people, it's education. Some people, it's energy, petrol. For some people, it is healthcare. But it is not entirely strange for a country to say that we will subsidize this particular thing for our citizens. And so it's a conversation Nigerians need to have, that if we had problems with corruption in the whole subsidy arrangement, could we have sorted out that corruption and ensured that if Nigeria is subsidizing petrol, it is doing it the right way and it's not going to, to corrupt hands that are fraudulently creating false figures as to our number, petrol consumption daily that we have in Nigeria. The standard I say was about 70 million liters a day. So could we have sorted that out without ending subsidy or not? These are questions that somehow, some way we need to answer.
I mean, we're going to delve into the conversation even further this morning. We're going to be looking at the NNPC, the role that they play in all of this. We're also going to be speaking about the Dangote Refinery and what the implication of this will mean for Nigeria's oil sector. Much later in the conversation as well, we'll be looking at the impact, or earlier, we're starting off with the impact of this new fuel update in states around the country. We head into Abuja to see how some petrol stations have shut down, unfortunately. So it's one thing to be buying really expensive petrol. It's another thing to not even be able to buy it at all. And also we'll be joined much later by David Hundain, who has been listed as wanted by the Nigerian police in relation to the arrest of Pidom. I mean, it's not been a very good look. There have been reactions on social media, different commentators. We'll be having the man himself join us to bring us update with the case on Pidom, as well as, update with him being involved. But right now, we'll bring you breakfast headlines. Dangote Refinery begins petrol production. This started already. We're hoping that we can see that, kicking off and impacting the country. Federal government directs minister and defense chiefs to move to Sokoto. Motorists stranded as petrol stations suspend operations. It's not looking good. See, the queues are increasing. Police names David Hundain, one other as Pidom's accomplices. He'll be joining us to talk about this. And we'll be reviewing the newspaper front pages. Stay with us. Some petrol stations around the Wuse and Maitama areas of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, have suspended the sale of petrol, thus making motorists already on the fuel queues stranded and agitated. This is as the news of the pump price increase of petrol started making the rounds. Respondents who spoke to News Central Television described the incident as unfortunate, saying government must answer questions raised by citizens. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
Stranded and frustrated, these residents of the Federal Capital Territory say that their daily survival is tied to the availability of petrol. Some of them say that they left their homes early enough to join the fuel queue, but that was not enough guarantee to get fuel as the queues stopped moving, and the station told them that the sales of PMS has been suspended till further notice.
What is time now? I'm in the village. I never carry one trip. I never carry anybody.
I've been here since 5 o'clock. I joined the queue up from there. The reason why my car is somewhere here is because people are tired and they are leaving the queue. So the more they are leaving is moving. When I came in the morning, they actually opened the filling station and they started selling fuel.
What time?
That was around some minutes after 7. So, and we're hoping that we are going to all get fuel and get back to our daily activities. Unfortunately, we stood and we discovered that the queue is no longer moving. So some of us came out to come and find out what is happening, only for us to hear that they asked them to stop selling.
Nigerians are suffering. As I'm passing here now, and I'm thinking how I'm going to buy fuel. I was just driving and see if I can beg someone to allow me to enter line. But I don't think anybody will allow you because the line is so long.
These people now, all those filling stations that these people, they drop fuel this morning, they discharge this morning, and they want to sell it in the higher price. Why they know they're supposed to sell this one? When they bring another one, you understand me? They hide their price, but they believe that this is an opportunity for them to make money, and it's not good.
As expected, the situation elicited negative reactions from the citizens who say government must answer questions from citizens that need answers.
This information is going to Mr. President or the people in charge. But maybe people will come out to protest to tell the Nigerians, the leaders, their mind, what they are going through. They will just hear and put deaf ears to it. They don't do anything about it.
We have crude in Nigeria we're exporting to refine and bring back. And our president is an experienced man. We thought that once when he comes in, he will change things within 1 year. But we're surprised things are like this. We don't understand what is actually happening. Is it because they cannot import or we cannot even refine? With Dangote Refinery on stream, it's painful. Let the government do something about it, because when you punish people, you yourself will pay a price when the time comes.
For now, this fuel queue remains static, and for how long, only time will tell. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
And that is the reality, not just in the Federal Capital Territory, but in different parts of the country where the queues are getting longer and a number of them do not have product. I'm hoping that we can see a resolution to that in the nearest, few days. But let's move the conversation away to other matters. President Bola Tinubu has directed the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawalle, and military chiefs to move to Sokoto State to intensify efforts to rid the northwest region of terrorism, banditry, and kidnapping. The region has been plagued by rampant terrorist attacks, with Zamfara, Katsina, and Kaduna recording the highest number of kidnap incidents.
According to SBM intelligence, no fewer than 7,568 people were abducted in 1,130 incidents across the country between July 2023 and June 2024. Zamfara is the most in the number of kidnap incidents, with 132 incidents, a number of kidnap victims being 1,639 and 146 number of civilian deaths. Now, joining us is Bemi Animashaung, who, of course, joins us as a security expert to speak on these things. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right. From your perspective, what do you say is or would you say is the reality of security situation in northwest and, of course, north central regions? The president has now directed the service chiefs to move to Sokoto. What is the reality of things on ground there from what you know?
Thank you very much. I think it's important we put the new directive, the new presidential directive, in context. And by this, we recall that in 2015, when President Buhari came on board, he gave a similar order at his inaugural speech, where he also, made a vow to rescue all the innocent people in captivity, including the Chibok girls. Down the line, the government claimed to have technically defeated Boko Haram. Then again in 2017, when acting President Oshibajo stood in for President Buhari, a similar order was given that the military chiefs should move to Borno State. Please go with me, 2015, 2017. Then 3 chiefs moved to Borno, the chief of Air Staff, the chief of Army Staff, and the chief of Defense Staff. Now, we are in 2024. A similar order has been given. The only different thing now is that we can see evidently that the epicenter has shifted from the northeast to the northwest, but we are still issuing a similar order. As the French would say, the more things change, the more they seem to remain the same. So if I'm going to answer your question about the reality, let us look at the optics. As you are saying, the optics are not encouraging. Also, the safety of non-combatants in the northwest, in perhaps all over the country, is no longer guaranteed. So the reality today is dire and damning.
All right. Speaking about the reality today being dire, let's look at the killings that have happened. In the year under review in this report, kidnapping has become more lethal, with 1,056 people killed in 1,130 reported kidnap incidents. On the average, someone is killed each time there is an attempted kidnap, and this is a report by SBM Intelligence. What's the way forward from here? Is it going downhill? Will this order by the president make maybe any more difference in the number of killings that we're expected to see going forward?
Well, as I just, outlined, the new order may just be good for the optics and may just be a good psychological boost for those on the front line. But in terms of having real effects, again, I want to say 2015, 2017, 2024, the same thing, the same style, the same manner. And we expect a different result. I'm afraid we need to think and act differently. So that things will change, we need to start from thinking and acting differently. And the fundamental question we need to ask ourselves here is this: if these outlaws are quick in re-strategizing and forming allegiance or alliances, as we can see, the Islamist insurgents and the bandits more or less have come into a kind of fusion to give them a staying power against the Nigerian state. Do we have the capacity kinetically to take them out fully? The data will not support that. So the fundamental question we need to ask ourselves is this: do we want to negotiate, or do we want to fight, or do we want to talk? Fundamentally, do we have the capacity for either? So until we start addressing these issues, we may just be wasting lives and wasting money. That's my opinion.
I mean, it's scary, saying that, if we try kinetic means, we may not have the means or the resources to win that. That's a little worrisome, because Nigerian
but the data
government
does not support that. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, if we continue to invest billions every year in our national budget on security, you would expect that we should have the means. And I've repeatedly argued that it's not just about having the biggest guns. We also need to have proper border control. We need to stop the inflow of arms and ammunition into Nigeria. There's many parts of the conversation that need to be had, aside just sending the service chiefs, to Sokoto. I saw Bello Matawale yesterday in a video dressed in army fatigue. And anyway, let me leave my opinion out of this. But, I want you to, also tell me.
You're just smiling now.
Yeah. I mean, I saw him dressed in army fatigue yesterday, and I felt it was very unnecessary, to be having these theatrics. I'm not sure what he was hoping to achieve.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to, talk about something, that has also we've seen lately, which is bandits and kidnappers on TikTok showing off bundles of cash that they've reportedly, allegedly received from their victims. There's even one video where one of the bandits was doing giveaways, and Nigerians were posting their account numbers in the comment section, to one of these bandits. Very embarrassing. But does this in any way tell you that these people do not fear Nigerian security agencies? They are in absolute, they're currently on holidays, just another day at work for them.
They're having fun. That's the fact. Because, what do people do mostly on social media? You have fun, you catch crews, as they say on the street. And that is what they are doing. Don't forget, before the advent of what we can call the digitalization or webification of insurgency, which we have today, it was reported that Boko Haram then also did many giveaways, to people in the Northeast. And this is standard practice among insurgents. They first of all ensure they get the buy-in of the community, because they need these communities. They need the residents, they need the locals of this community to give them legitimacy and to give them cover. Now, the only different thing is that what we didn't see before in the open is now available to us on TikTok, on Twitter, or on X, on social media. So we are just seeing a progression, from what we may say opacity of their act of their philanthropy, of their generosity. We are now seeing that on the social media. And it tells you something that this.
All right, Mr. Animashaw, if you can hear us, I think we'll probably have to wait for the connection to be once again reestablished. But, the point, that I was hoping that we can make. Okay, Mr. Animashaw, please go ahead.
So what is important for us is, as a country, to also retool and rethink, from our policies to our strategies. So that these people are now appearing on social media and other digital platforms only tells you the extent of their staying power and their capacity to adapt, which we are not seeing on the raised earlier. Do we have the capacity to fight, or do we have the capacity to talk? It's important to decide where our strength lies. Is it in negotiating with these people? Because now, unlike the Boko Haram that will do, signature suicide bombing, these people are making everyday life impossible. They are making everyday life unlivable. And they are fast emerging as alternative sovereigns to the Nigerian state. Why do I say this? They are, instead of going on large-scale captures, I think they have adjusted their strategies to just capturing small localities and governing those places. Again, that is why I reject the description of those places as ungoverned places, because it is an empirical fallacy to say such places are ungoverned. When you have alternative non-state sovereigns imposing taxes, dictating life, and ruling in these places, then what is governance, if not what they are doing? So we are losing it.
All right.
And we need to ask ourselves, do we want to continue on this path? So the webification or the digitalization of insurgency is expected if one is paying attention to the way. If you have your gaze in that area, you will not be surprised that this is happening.
All right, just to bring some more data by SPM Intelligence, between July 2023 and July 2024, there are reports that kidnappers demanded at least the sum of 10 billion naira approximately as ransom, but received a little over 1 billion naira. That's like 9.5% of the money demanded, indicating that kidnappers have become less targeted in their victimology. Looking at these numbers and looking at the way that we have combated or attacked terrorism and banditry, would you say that we're putting in, I think I know the answer to that, but so far, what do you say about the people who say that the current administration is more focused on picking on individuals, journalists, and all the likes than throwing all that effort into terrorism? And the example that we've seen cited a number of times is how easily it was for them to pick up PDOM Nigeria, finding his location. So they're saying that they have the access to these details, and if they can easily pick up these people, why are they not easily finding these terrorists? Is that a concern that you also share?
Well, let me put it this way. The way you go after, first of all, it is condemnable that civil liberties are now under threat. Unfortunately, in a democracy, headed by somebody who touts himself as the father of democracy, in Nigeria. So that is also unsavory to see that civil liberties are now coming under threat. But however, from an operational or technical point of view, what you need to do to take out insurgents or terrorists is not exactly the same thing you need to do to impugn or, to abridge the civil liberties of individuals. But it is bad optics. It leaves a bad taste in the mouth about the government that, yes, bearing out its funds on, as I said, trying to abrogate civil liberties. And this is really concerning because when you look at the fact that the Police Act was amended to allow an extension. That's again sends a worrying signal because we need. And if you look at the way the labor man was arrested and freed, so it tells you that perhaps democracy may actually be coming under threat because once civil liberties are not guaranteed, then what it tells you is that non-combatants, well-meaning Nigerians like you and I, we are in danger because you don't know the next thing you will tweet, you don't know the next thing you will say that will warrant you being labeled a terrorist. So it is not. It is really disheartening to be seeing that. Now, why not apply the same measure, the same energy to tracking and apprehending the terrorists? Yes, I think we need to ask the same question. But don't forget, the terrains are different. And the peculiarities are also different, So the kind of coordinated attack, the kind of coordinated operation, combining the intelligence infrastructure, the boots on ground to go after the terrorists, we should not, make light of that and equate it with what it takes to, use digital means to identify an individual and apprehend him. But more fundamentally, it is unfortunate, it is disturbing that a government headed by somebody who fought for democracy seems, please, I must say this, seems to be abrogating civil liberties. That's disturbing.
Yeah. All right. There's so much to unpack, but thank you very much, Gbemi and Marshall, for your time. I think we just have to have our fingers crossed and continue to make these demands of the current administration to fix what must be fixed concerning security. This is really not a time for theatrics or for excuses either. Thanks for your time again. We'll speak with you pretty soon.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right. Now, moving away from security, let's talk about Nigeria's petroleum sector. The president of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, presented the first sample of refined petrol from the Dangote Refinery yesterday. This follows the statement by the vice president of Dangote Industries Limited, Devakuma Edwin, on Monday, stating that the Nigerian National Petroleum Commission, NNPC, will become the sole buyer of products from Dangote Refinery as it begins production. The refinery will meet the petrol demands of Nigerians and sub-Saharan Africa.
This is as NNPCL increased the pump price of petrol from 568 naira to 855 naira per litre amid lingering fuel queues and limited supply. In the past few weeks, fuel queues have been a common sight in major cities across Nigeria, leaving citizens struggling to obtain fuel.
As we have this refinery working, it will show the true consumption of Nigeria. We can track every single loaded trucks, and we will try as much as possible to track the loaded ships. You can see that this is the sample. This is the sample of the petrol. It might be a little bit you see it like a different color, but that's the real this thing, So you are now going to have good petrol where the engines of your vehicles will last longer. You will not be having an engine issue, which a lot of us were having, it won't happen at all. The quality here will match that of quality of anywhere in the world. US, America, we will make sure that nobody will beat us in terms of quality.
Well, petrol looking like a bottle of water there. Joining us is the spokesperson of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, Ukadike Chinedu. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Nigeria.
Yeah, I'm going to first of all start with the conversations concerning the quality of petrol. Nigerians are used to petrol being slightly, pinkish or orange or red, it's different colors. And so is there something to celebrate, seeing that one that looks just like, you could drink it?
I will allow that for NNDPR. The NNDPR is the authority of the industry and who has all the prerequisite authority and powers from federal government and the law to be able to determine the quantity and quality of petroleum product being imported in this country or being exported out of this country. And I believe that NNDPR is on top of this matter by now, and we have well-experienced personalities that are working with NNDPR. And I think their wealth of experience will definitely, count this time around for Nigerians. I also remember that there was a time the NNDPR was also alleging that the quality of Dangote automated gasoline oil, that is AGO, was not, had a lot of sulfur. So I think the authority will be on top of this issue matter now. And now before this product will roll out into the market, they will be able to ascertain the quality of this product and the efficiency and efficacy of the product in the engine of the Nigerian motorists. So I think that's my take for now. But Nigeria is always, as an independent marketer, Nigeria is always conversant with a kind of either pinkish or reddish color of premium motor spirits.
Yeah.
And I've also traveled out of this country and I've seen some of petrol and the foreign countries like United States of America, France, and the rest of them. It is only in the United States of America that you have two categories of PMS, the premium and the super. So it depends on the one you want to buy. The prices are different, it depends on what you want to buy. And I also believe that Dangote would have categorized our petroleum products by giving us super and premium, so that if anybody who intends to buy this kind of one, the super, they will buy. If you want to buy premium,
I'm sure Nigerians will be.
So the PMS looking like water does not because its efficacy.
Right.
The most important thing is the combustion of the products.
And let's see if the NMDPRA, like you've mentioned, would come out, because it was a bit of a no, it wasn't a bit. It was a big issue at the time, with them being criticized, the CEO being asked to step down because of the statements made against or about the quality of the Dangote Refinery's product. Let's move on now to the current reality of fuel scarcity. And we're seeing the numbers. The traffic is much. Nigerians have to queue. And now with the NNPC increasing its official price from over 617 to about 895 or 97, I believe. We've seen an increase, and this is reflected in the prices across board. Will the coming of Dangote Refinery in any way impact, one, the availability of product, and then two, the price?
Well, the capacity of Dangote Refinery, 650,000 barrels per day, is not questionable. And the company has already boasted that they can be able to supply solely products that Nigerians can use, and that of West African countries, and also export their finished products. And with such statements from a reputable company like that, I think I'm not worried about their capacity. I'm worried about distribution. And that is, as an independent marketer, that is where I will do more. But for your question, they have said they have capacity to give us adequate supply of petroleum product. And now the issue of pricing is another concept that is also supposed to be looked in by federal government. For NNPCL to be the sole off-taker of Dangote product, finished product, is so worrisome for marketers too. That a company like that should not limit itself to one source of supply. And if that be, it also has indirectly, which is what we have been complaining before, making NNPC the sole importer and distributor of petroleum products. And it's a high level of monopoly. It does not beget the issue of deregulation as opined by the president and the removal of subsidy, because we are in a capitalist society. Everybody should be allowed to go to Dangote and source petroleum products and be able to compete, so that we can be able to see how we can reduce price. Because when stakeholders when stakeholders in the field compete with NNPC, NNPC is also in the competition arena. They have their filling stations, they have their tank farms, they have their vessels. And if all these things will be given to one man, he will export crude, he will offtake PMS, he will also distribute to his filling station. The issue of price disparity, like your fears, will continue, because people will surge in NNPC filling stations because they are getting directly from Dangote and their price might be cheaper. The distribution of petroleum products from one point to another, distributor to another, increases pricing. It encourages profiteering. So if an NNPC does not supply to us, that means we cannot no longer participate or service our filling station. So it's so worrisome to independent market.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're not the only one who has these concerns. The PIA, of course, I believe should have made these things a lot easier to manage, but it doesn't seem like we're aligning with that. But tell us about right now we're expecting the price of petrol to be 800 and something naira, maybe 900. Do you expect it to still climb higher to 1,000 and beyond, if the federal government, of course, truly hands off subsidy as it has claimed to have stopped? So do you expect that it will continue to climb higher?
And that's what I'm trying to explain to you. Once there is a source, one particular source of distribution, one particular source of taking, the issue of competition has been erased. So it depends on whatever NNPC determines the price of petroleum products. Dangote said NNPC and federal government will determine its price. So it is no longer in our hands to be able to determine the price. So they can be able to run from one price regime to another, depending on how it suits them. So we independent marketers, we are at the receiving side. Our hands are clocked. There is no way we can be able to anticipate whether the price is going to go up or not. But if the market is polarized, it's open for everybody. Both the DAPMA members and the MAMA members and independent marketers to source this petroleum product from Dangote. Once the Dangote says this price, it is inherent on us to be able to look at our own logistics and our own profit margin in our filling station and be able to set our price. The essence of the regulation is marketers to be able to set their own price and sell in line with their bargain and purchasing power. So being expectant whether it's going to go up, it depends on adequacy. For now, HU is available, but the price goes from, look at the price regime of HU. When Dangote started, HU was 1,600. Dangote brought his own to 1,200. Everybody ran to Dangote. After some time, those who imported their own petroleum products ran down to 1,200. Dangote went to 1,000. From 1,000 naira, Dangote went to 950. Those who were importing could no longer import. After some time, those people are now tired of the rigmarole in terms of pricing. Dangote now left, increase again to 1,100. But the issue of availability, yes, it's available. AGO is everywhere in Nigeria. There's nowhere you go, they say you're looking for AGO, no. Even in the north. AGO is everywhere. So the monopoly that has been played out here by Dangote in the little AGO he has imputed into the country and managed so far, nobody can be able to control the price. It determines the price. If he wakes up this morning and say, I want to sell 1,000 naira, everybody will buy 1,000 naira. You don't have choice.
Yeah,
This monopoly,
the panacea to this is to ensure that
this monopoly that you speak about
and other refineries are working.
This monopoly that you speak about and you have concerns about, does it stop just at the foot of Dangote, or do you also have these fears with the NNPC, seen as they'll be the sole buyer from Dangote? And if we then start to look at the regulation of the downstream sector, do you think that this will bring about the much desired competition that you want, or the change that you hope to see?
Yeah, the issue is that we'll have a mono market. We'll have a mono supplier, we'll have a mono distributor. And it's not healthy in line with the PIA. I don't know how they are implementing the law, because the law encourages competition. So if the law encourages competition, now you are placing the horse before the cart. There is no way the independent market can be able to compete in this kind of environment. It's not hygienic at all in terms of business like. So all of us are capitalists. The NNPC, they're also trying to make profit. We, the independent marketers, we are also trying to also make profit. So there is no way we can be able to compete in this kind of arena. Whatever the independent NNPC gives to us, or NNPC gives to us, or trading gives to us, that is what we can be able to sell. I will put our little margin. The issue of petroleum equalization has been removed from independent marketers. So we bear our own cost. Now, the most striking aspect of this issue is that during the importation, NNPCL was given all the necessary leverages to be able to solely import petroleum products in this country. Most of the independent marketers that have tried to do that could not be able to succeed because of government policies, because of forests, because of the parallel market and all the rest of them. For them to go to the parallel market to source forests, it becomes very, very difficult for them. If you're repatriating their fund, becomes another big problem. Most of them incurred losses importing petroleum products. That is why they could not be able to import again. And it's now left in the hands of NNPC. This is another scenario again, in a clandestine way that is going to happen, allowing Dangote to supply petroleum products solely to NNPC. So I believe there is something that federal government is trying to cushion here. For me, ordinarily, I didn't know why that decision should be taken. Dangote should have been so free to be able to go into the market and sell to whoever that want to buy his products. Yeah. But I also believe that government is trying to also toll the hardship of people, because Dangote petroleum product, diesel is 1,150 naira in Dangote Refinery. And diesel and PMS their margin does not go more than 50 to 30 naira differences in a normal operating environment. So if you use that, so you also find out that this PMS should be going around 1,000 naira or 1,050 naira. So maybe federal government is also trying to indirectly bring in subsidies so that not allow Nigerian masses suffer the cost of Dangote production of petroleum products.
Yeah. Or we'll talk also about the Port Harcourt Refinery. They, of course, continued to shift the date for it, of course, for it to start production. It used to be August. It's no longer August, obviously. So maybe September, maybe October, maybe November. Nobody knows. Will that make any difference?
Well, let me use this word, epileptic resumption date of Port Harcourt Refinery. We're all tired. Nigerians are tired. Our president, in one of his broadcasts, has asked President Mohammed Tinubu to declare a state of emergency in those refineries. And our either visit the refineries to find out what is holding the refinery. This is the sixth time that so many government officials and the management of the refinery has given us dates for resumption. I wonder the politics behind that date. I wonder the hiccups behind this sudden change in date. Now that Dangote has set out, I also believe that the dates in which the federal government keep on advancing from one place to another is also to, tune the minds of Nigerians and allow that to start up. Then maybe the Port Harcourt refinery will follow suit, so that even if when they give us their price, we will not say, this government refinery, why would they be selling? And they are locally refining here, why would they be selling that kind of price? But if Nigerians are we're very much acquainted with, if Nigerians are very, very much acquainted with the price of this product, and then the Port Harcourt refinery will now come up on steam, then and also to set their price. I believe that Nigerians will not take to the streets, to agitate. But the most important thing is that we want Port Harcourt refinery working. We want Warren refinery working. We want Kaduna. What is beauty in business is that we have different source of getting petroleum products. If Dangote is refining, Port Harcourt refinery is refining, Warren, Kaduna, marketers within that area can be able to access petroleum products, and it will less logistics.
Yeah.
Dangote is refining in Lagos. Everybody in Kano, Kaduna, Katsina, on the upland area, will travel close to 500 and something kilometers to be able to get petroleum products from the coastal areas of Nigeria, which is around Port Harcourt, Warri, and Calabar. So the issue of logistics and markup of that logistics is inherent.
All right.
And it will also continue to be able to shift the price from a friendly pocket price.
Yeah.
We are looking at
All right,
something
Mr.
that can be
Okadike.
able to alleviate the sufferings of Nigerians.
Yeah.
We're not looking at something that will continue to increase the sufferings of Nigeria, because one, the roads are bad for some of our trucks to travel 500 something kilometers from Brunu to Lagos.
All right.
And back. It takes 2 weeks.
Mr. Okadike, I think, on the final note, in 30 seconds or less, are we expecting to see the fuel scarcity reducing maybe in the next couple of days? Are we expecting to see a reduction and maybe an availability of product?
Affirmative, yes, because when I go to roll out his AGO, there was availability. Now the PMS is here, there is availability. The most important, the most aspect of it is the pricing. But Nigerians want availability, constant availability. We cannot continue to live in a place where we produce crude oil and we export the crude oil to be able to get a refined product, and people will be telling us lightning and the ship to ship transfer that is the problem, and importers are giving them problem. Dangote has clearly stated this year. Now we are paying with Naira. Now we are buying with Naira. Now we are selling with Naira. So the issue of forex is gone. I think that's one of the, that's when I beat my chest and I agreed that this is a very good development for Nigerians, and it's going to strengthen our economy and provide employment for our young youths.
All right, Mr. Okadike, thank you very much for joining us. I mean, it's really just fingers crossed that we'll see if things improve in the next few days or maybe weeks. I know that there will be continued conversations as to the, seeming monopoly of the Dangote refineries with regards to Nigeria's crude oil refining. But we'll see. Thanks for your time again. We'll speak with you pretty soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Interesting way, of course, to x-ray these stories. We have a lot more coming your way. Let's quickly share with you a recap of some of the things we've spoken about in the past hour, and also what comes up right next. Yes, Dangote Refinery to supply 25 million liters of petrol daily. And also, the federal government directs minister and defense chiefs to move to Sokoto. Also this morning, motorists stranded as petrol stations suspend operations. We spoke about that as well. It's very terrible times across the country. But that's not all this morning. Let's share with you what's coming up next on Breakfast Central.
Coming up next, police names David Hundeyin, one other, as PDOM's accomplices. We reviewed the newspaper front pages. I would like you to join us via our phone lines as well. We also bring you Which Way Nigeria, the monologue that talks about some of the deep conversations in our hearts. Stay with us. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We review the newspapers now to see what the front pages are saying. I was joined by Deyemi Saka. Good morning. It's good to see you.
Good morning. I was smiling because when I looked viewing the opening montage, there was a pot that gives me hope for a better Nigeria.
Well, it can also be interpreted as a pot, the boiling pot of where Nigerians are feeling right now. That we're inside a boiling pot because it's back to back. Let's see what the front pages are saying this morning. We begin with our first paper, which is the Vanguard. Anger trails rise in pump price of petrol to 855 naira. We can see the picture of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in China, and we have at the top of the paper, soaring prices, FCCPC backs down on price control. FEC will determine price of our petrol, says Dangote. PDP governors vow to continue supporting Fubara, Flay, Wike. And that's all. Okay, I think the last one is AFCON qualifier. Benin to arrive Nigeria tomorrow. That's all that we have this morning. Let's head to our next paper.
All right. Next, we have the Daily Independent newspapers. Right next, it says there, elation as Dangote assures flooding market with petrol in 24 hours. Says Refinery will show Nigeria's true petrol consumption. Well, assures no more importation of propylene from October. NNPC to be responsible for controlling petrol pump price. And that's a thing that Nigerians are still, really cautious about, because I think the PIA was meant to remove that one person controlling the price of petrol across the country. It was meant to open up the market. I thought that was the plan. But it's still here, says NNPC to be responsible for controlling petrol pump price. Well, Dangote to produce 25 million liters of PMS in September, says NMDPRA. Also, police apprehend hacker who breaches national security. I'm guessing that is, I'm not sure who that is. Shatima Obi, Atiku Abbas, and others attend Yaradua's mother's burial. Despite denial, NNPC stations sell petrol at 897 naira per liter, others at 950. Gunmen bomb police station and kill one in Anambra. These are the major stories on the Daily Independent. Oh, I think the final one, PDP governors berate Wike. Described threat as unbridled and irresponsible. Final story.
All right, now let's take the final paper, the Punch newspaper. On front page, petrol price hike. Labour demands reversal, set to meet. Marketers await Dangote refinery pricing template as NNPCL emerges sole buyer. Oyo Monarchs Council's vice chair tackles shown over Ogbomoso chief imam. Fleeing buttock enlargement doctor now in custody. Oh, good news. According to the Lagos police. 34 Yobe villagers killed by Boko Haram guests mass burial. Hunger protest, police squeeze staff of wanted Britain. PDP governors knock Wike, says Fubara Rivers party leader. Power generation hits 5,313 megawatts, first time in 3 years. And Igodalo will get over 65% votes, PDP boasts. APC-led government will build on Oshomole's legacy, according to Okpebolo. Let's get into the big story, the price hike. Labour demands reversal. They've asked for a reversal of the current price. Do you see this happening? What are your thoughts on the price hike and the impact it will have on Nigerians?
Well, some of us we've been saying that the government should be truthful and tell Nigerians that yes, there was subsidy. Subsidy was introduced through a back door, and it's a sad one because when you look at the composition of the National Assembly, I don't think we have National Assembly representing the interest of Nigerians. Because Section 80, and it's one of the Constitution, which speaks to public revenue, has obviously been contravened by Mr. President. Because if you look at what happened last year, where the receipts of dividend of NNG was used by NNPC to pay for dividend for subsidy, that's against the tax provision that says all receipts of money should go to the federation account. and can only be spent based on, budgetary estimates approved by the National Assembly. We could go on and on, but it's just a reflection of the economic policy of the present administration. You got into power, whether we like it or not, the Dangote Refinery, a private venture which a lot of people are celebrating as a government intervention, silly enough, would have seen, something like that, the market forces really dictating the price. But you remove subsidy in one instance, you're regulating, you're fixing the pump price, and in another instance, you're paying subsidy through backdoor. It's a confusion of policies, and at the same time, you're floating your naira, your currency, whether you like it or not, and you don't have the refining capacity to give it that competitive edge in the market. What are you expecting? So it was something I've expected to hit 1,000 naira per liter as far back as September, October last year. They tried even pushing it to this time of period.
Yeah, so there's also the part where it says NNPC to be responsible for controlling petrol pump price. Does that sound strange? Was that meant to be the agreement?
You cannot remove subsidy. You cannot deregulate at the same time control the price or fix the price. It's counterproductive. It's contradictory. You can. I think the governments of the day. I think it's time it starts. Because we're taking on island and Nigerians are angry. I don't think we're angry. I think they're banking on the hypnotism that they've so much hypnotized Nigerians. I think we're still under a spell. They just keep throwing this thing at us. We just keep absorbing it, pushing back. I think they should give Nigerians, treat us with a bit of decency and respect. You can't just be lying on our face, peeing on our face and tell us it's raining. How can you tell me that NNPC will regulate the price when the market forces needs to probably control the price?
All right. Let's move away from this fuel conversation, and we probably may come back to it if we have some time, and talk about the hunger protest. The police squeeze staff of the wanted breeds, and I'm sure you've been following the updates with the 10 protesters who have been arraigned and charged for treason. More recently, yesterday, we saw the update with the police, now announcing that David Hundeyin is is an accomplice of PDOM Nigeria and is declared wanted. He'll be joining us shortly, but we'd like to hear your thoughts on that story.
You see, things like this cast, huge doubts on the credentials of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that at some point called himself the father of all Democrats. And there's no democracy when there's no freedom of expression, that captures free press, that captures, right to express, to protest and what have you. I don't know how the police wants to substantiate the charges, allegations of treason. I am still looking at how they want to, gather their case or the facts against these people to prove treason. I don't think protest is against, is against the state. It's just an expression of your dissatisfaction against some state policies. So if it's protest, I think the president, since there is no status of limitation to criminal acts and everything, so I think we should just go back to every major actors of Occupy Nigeria and just pack them at the same time, charge them for treason. Let's start from there.
Like you've said, we'll see how
they want to prove that case. I'm curious. It's going to be interesting to see how Egbetekun-led Nigerian police would show how intelligent they are, how smart they are, how much they could gather facts and to prosecute criminal cases like this. I want to see the magic they want to perform. I'll be impressed if we can prove it in court.
All right. We'll take our next story, but let's quickly hear from this call. We have good father calling from Abuja. Good morning. Thanks for calling.
Good morning.
All right. Thank you. Please quickly go ahead with your comments.
I am Baba, like I earlier said. Comment is about this new hike of petroleum price. I don't know what the president is really taking Nigerians for. When we are already in a hardship situation, and yet you are now dangling another hardship on Nigerians. I think Labour Congress, no pain, should do something about it. This is really, I will not call it madness, because one economist in America just our president, I don't know whether you saw that thing, you heard that thing. He labeled Bola Tinubu as a complete failure.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your thoughts on that. He's raised. I want us to quickly touch back on that again. He's raised a point that he doesn't know what Labour is doing about this, and Labour is asking for a reversal. Do you think that Labour has the force to be able to demand that sort of thing? Because we saw that was part of the demands from the End Bad Governance protest, and not all those demands were met. So do you think that Labour, even though they were not initially a part of the End Bad Governance protest, now coming out to say this, do you think that they'd be able to hold the government, to account?
I mean, bear in mind that, Joe Ajero is currently charged with
sponsoring
treason and amongst other things.
I think nobody should be careful to not be charged with treason. But for me, I think Nigerians are still not ready. When I say Nigerians are not ready, I'm not calling for an uprising. Let me put it out there before Egbetokun sends his goons after me. But I think when Nigerians are truly ready, we know what to do. Maybe there's another election coming up some few years away from now. We exercise our dissatisfaction. But it's not just only Labour, up to Labour to fight this cause, for every Nigerian to express his dissatisfaction with this policy. And you ask yourself, the president is termed as the father of the nation, due to the sycophancy or, what have you. Your house is burning. Where is he? As we speak, he's in China. From China, he's probably going to go somewhere. Some people were killed in Yobe.
Yeah,
So, Sokoto had something. In fact, the military lost quite a substantial asset over the weekend. And as the commander-in-chief, when I say this, a lot of people think I have something personal with the NSA. Is an indictment of the National Security Advisor.
All right. Let's quickly take this call. We have Shaib calling from Nasarawa State. Good morning, Shaib. Thanks for calling. Please go ahead with your comment quickly.
Good morning to everyone in the studio there.
Good morning.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
You see, what cuts across majority of Nigerians' mind today is this issue of increment in fuel price. And it's quite unfortunate to speak that the hope of Nigerians that the fuel price will come down has been dashed. And it's assumed to be like a game between the elites and the masses. It's as if the elites or the politicians, so to speak, they don't care about how the masses are feeling. In one of the demands of all these band governors is part of it that the price of the fuel should be reduced. And suddenly we have this again, and definitely everything will go up again. Well, the question is whether people will be patient for it to flood the market and for the price to now reduce drastically is what I think is unbearable at this point in time. You can't continue to call people to be patient. In fact, with the labor, they've betrayed the labor force. In the agreement is that we will not increase your labor request to 250,000, but so that you can agree 70,000, so that the price will remain the same.
All right.
It's up to fifth time now since the removal of subsidy that this thing has been going up, and they've not even implemented the 70,000 minimum wage. Now people will use their money only to buy fuel, talk less of other things.
All right, Shaib, thanks a lot for calling.
It will go down and government will begin to have it, but now people cannot even trust this elites and the politicians.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much for calling.
We need to wrap up in a bit, but I want you to quickly also speak on the Nyesom Wike, issue, the PDP
drama.
Exactly. Initially saying that they were going to discipline or set up a disciplinary committee. Our guest yesterday, said it, that it wasn't the PDP who was going to discipline Wike, Wike was going to discipline the PDP.
I think the person has said that as probably should be questioned. His values should be questioned, because if you respect institutional constituted authority, there's no way Wike can discipline or sanction the party.
The way that Wike has, I think what he was inferring is that Wike has carried on in a way that seems that he's larger than the party.
No, it's just pardon my friend, that people in the PDP right now don't have the balls. I don't think I can be a member of the National Working Committee of the PDP, and Wike will be ranting all over national TV, and it wouldn't be sanctioned because that's what it is. It is, and Wike has demonstrated enough reason to be expelled from the party. So, Wike did not create PDP. Wike did not form PDP. Without Wike, PDP will survive. Without PDP, there will be no Wike where he is today. And that's the fact. And I think it's right for, if PDP is serious as a party and to earn the confidence or regain the confidence of Nigerians moving to the next election, they should deal with this cancer or virus called Wike in PDP. That's the truth. You can't just be. Why is it? It's only Wike that's in PDP. It's only Wike that is dissatisfied in PDP. If you're dissatisfied with PDP and what they are doing, then get out of PDP and go and form your party or go and join the party you're in bed with. There's enough anti-party activities by Wike that should form his grounds for based on his expulsion from the PDP. You're serving in APC. You're disrupting your party and the governance or your party in Rivers State. And you are in APC, side in APC government, you want to be dictating the shots for PDP in Rivers State. So at the next election, which role are you going to play? You're serving in an APC government. Are you going to be opposition to APC government in an election in Rivers State of playing the role, satisfying PDP's interest? It's conflicting. It's contradictory. So choose a side. Yeah. It shouldn't be hiding like
all the times that we've brought this up for a person speaking for the PDP. There's always some excuse or the other. They say that they have a different approach.
They don't want to throw away the baby and the bathwater.
So sometimes when you have a still bet, I'm not going to throw it away with the bathwater. Are you not going to do that? Well, I don't understand why everybody feels Wike is untouchable. Wike is beyond reproach or reprimand. Wike is this. Wike is please. Wike is just like a human being like you and I. That's the truth.
Well, time will tell. I mean, it's up to them because in the next couple of years there will be the 2027 elections. The PDP, of course, will know.
And the PDP will not achieve anything. PDP will not have a good outing if Wike is still in that party. That's the truth.
Let's take our final caller. We have Kelly calling. Good morning. Thanks for calling. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning.
All right, please go ahead with your comment.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the analyst has said it all, especially on the issue of petrol, which seems to be the other video right now. I don't know why the NNPC, they are still on exercise control right now, because we were told that once Dangote comes on stream, things will be better, the prices would likely come down. But it seems that the NNPC, they are trying to play a fast one. They want to recoup their debt, so to say. People say that they've incurred about over $6 billion of debt. I think they want to recoup it. Because I don't understand why the marketers cannot access petrol directly from Dangote. This is now on stream. But that being said, now on the issue of Wike, I think the PDP shouldn't, suspend him. He should be left hanging. Let it more like be between him, decide whether to leave the PDP for APC. Otherwise, I think he's looking for an excuse that he was, suspended from the PDP. Or it's fair, that's why he left for the APC. I think the PDP should not suspend him. Let him leave him and take the decision by himself whether to remain a PDP member or to go to the APC. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kelly.
All right. I think final thoughts on this situation and how, what your expectations are. Do you actually believe that there would be a disciplinary committee set up to handle, quote unquote, handle him? And do you think that he should be brought in for questioning for the remarks he made when he said that any governor who wants to take over the structure in Rivers State and give to another person, that he will set fire to their states?
And I'm wondering why GP Beto has not invited him for questioning. Because you want to set fire in a state when the country, when the national security is fragile, or somebody is issuing threats, somewhere like Wike and nothing is being done. It shows the insincerity of the government in tackling insecurity. You see, I'm not a prophet of doom. I think the president needs to really step down from his high horse, thinking he's a good politician. He's a good politician. I can't take that away from him. But as an administrator, we're questioning his abilities and credentials. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
But I pray, because sometimes you just have to resign yourself to prayers. I pray that Nigerians get it right. We've wasted 8 years. This is only another 2 years, because whether we like it or not, the 8-year administration or probably tenure of Muhammadu Buhari was a monumental disaster. That's the truth.
All right, dear Misaka, thank you so much for joining us. It's just unfortunate that the stories that we have this morning, there's not really a lot of pleasant news. It feels like it's a lot of back-to-back sad stories.
Nigerians are trying. I don't know why a lot of us have not. I think once in a while we should check into mental health facilities.
I completely agree with you. Our mental health is really hanging on the line.
But no, because we've been fed constantly with bad news daily since 2010.
I agree with you completely. I agree with you.
Mental health.
Our budget. We don't have budgetary allocations for mental health. But
people need to eat first.
Anyway.
All right. Dear Misaka, thank you very much for stopping by. I was going to say that I'm sure that, the IG of police would, maybe say that Yesomeke was joking. The same way MC
They said Solo was joking.
Exactly.
I know, but the sad part about Solo was joke. Yeah. That we saw what happened after the joke.
Exactly.
To tell us I wasn't joking, but they felt it was joking.
Well, we can't be selective about deciding what is a joke and what isn't. We're going to break now. When we come back, we have Which Way Nigeria. And right after, David Hundein joins us. Stay with us.
A couple of days ago, the Nigerian government ordered the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawale, and the military chiefs to relocate to Sokoto State as part of efforts to rid the state and the entire northwest of rampant terrorism. This, of course, is right after the very shocking news about the killing of the Emir of Gober and the reported kidnapping of 150 people, also from Gober in Sokoto State. It was eventually later debunked by security agencies. But now, it's not the first time that we're hearing about service chiefs being ordered to relocate to specific regions. If you remember, former President Buhari had ordered the IG of police in 2018 to relocate to Benue to tackle security concerns. And, of course, the killings in Benue back then, even though we eventually found out that the IG of police visited Benue, but didn't stay back because, well, President Buhari didn't ask him to stay. Anyway, once again, Mr. President has asked the service chiefs to move to Sokoto, and we hope that they will move there and stay there this time until there is some sense of security and calm in Sokoto and the whole northwest region. It is our hope that President Tinubu is able to place these demands on our security heads and ensure that we see results. Because if nobody has said it to them, then I must say it, that when we saw the videos of bandits and kidnappers reportedly in locations in northern Nigeria, showing off bundles of money on TikTok, showing off millions of naira they had reportedly received from kidnapped victims, Mr. President, that was the biggest insult to our security forces. It was a slap in the face of all those in charge of security in Nigeria. The audacity to be online on social media, allegedly showing off your loot from your kidnapped victims in a country that has NIN and BVN and all sorts of tools to track down protesters and others. A country that the police spokesman brags about how they can track down anybody across the country if they want to. Mr. President, those TikTok videos are a clear sign that these criminals are not afraid of Nigeria's security agents. The police or the army doesn't scare them. The DSS doesn't frighten them one bit. And it should be a time of deep introspection for our security chiefs. Because again, the audacity to share such videos on TikTok tells you it's just another day at work for these bandits, and they're not worried about being captured or being killed. Imagine the trauma that kidnapped victims will go through just scrolling through social media and seeing the person who kidnapped them flaunting bundles of cash like he's at the office. This is years after the Buhari administration promised to tackle insecurity. President Buhari still left office after 8 years with an expanded security challenge. So again, Mr. President, I hope that you understand the severity of the situation that we found ourselves, and you will actually demand results from these service chiefs with set timelines. This is not the time for theatrics. This is not the time for excuses. And Mr. President, you should make it clear to your security chiefs, because before we know it, 4 years will be over. And so your government will need to be questioned as to what it is proud of as its achievements on security after 4 years. These bandits are mocking the service chiefs and they're mocking Nigeria by posting those videos on social media, and something must be done. Good morning, Nigerians. A remand order was issued yesterday by Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court in Abuja to remand embattled Nigerian blogger Isaac Bristol, also known as PDOM, at the Kuje Correctional Center. The defendant's arraignment by the Nigerian police force are bordered on charges including money laundering, cyber crimes, and falsely levying a money laundering allegation against Nigerian President Bola Tinubu.
Meanwhile, after an investigation, the police has further revealed that investigative journalist David Hundein and one Michael Alade are Bristol Isaac, aka PDOM Nigeria's accomplices. The police force spokesperson Muyiwa Adejobi says PDOM was arrested following a petition from the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. A video circulated online showing Isaac and his legal team led by Deji Adeyanju in court after he pleaded not guilty to the 9-count charge leveled against him. Joining us now to discuss this and dissect this is the wanted investigative journalist, David Hundein. Good morning, David. Thank you very much for joining us. You are, again, you're wanted, and I know that this isn't your first radio, but I think it's important to ask. Right now is a really sensitive time for Nigerians. More importantly now, it's a sensitive time for you as well. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine. As you rightly said, this isn't the first time the Nigerian state is coming after me in this manner. As recently as last year, there was a high-level attempt that was made by the National Intelligence Agency to illegally abduct me internationally from a foreign country. So it's been worse than this. And there have been other attempts that were made. There was an attempt to render me stateless. In the past year alone, I've had to change country twice. So when the attempt was made to illegally abduct me from Ghana, then I had to flee to Kenya. And then when the attempt was made to render me stateless in Kenya, then I had to move to the UK. So this is part of the course, and this is the price that you have to pay, unfortunately, when, as I said earlier, you decide to tell the truth when it's not fashionable to do so, and when you're doing so in the face of an establishment or a regime that sees truth-telling as a direct affront or a threat to it. So, but it is what it is.
I did see your reaction yesterday, and of course you tweeted that, your crime is journalism. But, as quickly as you can, give us like a quick breakdown of the trajectory between when, the PDOM account reached out to you online, and then now you've suddenly been named as an accomplice. Did you see this coming?
Well, yes, which was why I decided to go public in the first place, because the manner or the circumstances under which this account suddenly decided to reach out to me and, for whatever reason, give me access. And then the security events that started happening, the attempts that were made to hack my devices, which led to me having to replace them and all of that, made it clear to me that there's some kind of skullduggery going on, which I don't want to be a party to. The educated guess that I had then was that this is probably a state security attempt to rope me into some sort of, criminal investigation or whatever, for the purpose of creating a narrative basis with which maybe to try and discredit my international refugee status or something, just basically to make my life more difficult. Because as you may know, it's not unheard of for countries like Nigeria to use the levers of security, such as Interpol, to try to go after political dissidents or political opponents, journalists, whistleblowers. It's a thing that Nigeria and other countries like it do regularly. So I was guessing that something like this would happen. And true to form, exactly as I thought it would turn out is exactly how it has turned out. They held a whole press conference. They had the force spokesperson read out a statement, and they named me as a suspect in an ongoing criminal investigation. The purpose of doing all of that is to create a narrative basis, possibly to put me on an Interpol notice list, which makes it more difficult for me to travel, and essentially just start sort of making the walls feel like they're closing in on me. Because typically when that happens, that makes it easier for the target maybe to start making mistakes and to do something which puts them in a position to actually get hold of this person. Because as you know, for whatever reason, getting hold of David Hundeyin is one of the most important security priorities now of the Nigerian DevSec establishment. It doesn't matter that you have actual, literal, real life terrorists um, going on TikTok and showing off the money that they made from kidnapping Nigerians, the ransom sums in crisp CBN banknotes. None of that is as important as getting hold of some journalist somewhere in the UK, because apparently that's what's going to make Nigeria a better place, and that's what's going to make the presidency of Bola Ahmed Tinubu a successful one. So here we are.
All right, we'll come back to talk about you here. Let's backtrack a bit to PDOM and the role, the journey so far. What updates do you have regarding PDOM's case?
Well, so as of yesterday, the update was that he was remanded in prison by the Federal High Court. That's Kuje prison. His lawyer, Dijade Andrew, wasn't allowed to make an oral bail application, so it has to be written. And in the case of a written application, the police have 7 days to respond. So Isaac Bristol or PDOM is going to be remanded for at least 7 days. Prior to being arraigned in courts, apparently and this is direct information from him because I spoke to him after his court appearance. I spoke to him on the phone. His lawyer was kind enough to put us on the phone. He says that the deputy commissioner of police at the NCCC, the deputy director of the NCCC, actually visited his cell when he was in FCID detention and sprayed some sort of toxic substance into the cell. And since then, he's had extreme difficulty breathing. And if he talks, you can actually hear that in his voice. He can only talk for maybe 5 seconds, and he has to cough, and you can hear him wheezing. Clearly, something's wrong with him. He says he has lost all use of his left index finger. He can't feel anything. There's no sign of any blood circulating there or anything. And he has still not been given access to proper medical care. He also said that there was an attempt that was made to inject him with something against his will and without his knowledge, which thankfully was unsuccessful. And according to him, it was the publicity that was generated in the wake of his disappearance becoming public knowledge that even forced the FCID or the NCCC to even sort of put together those charges that they already put together to actually arraign him in court, because apparently they intended to just hold on to him indefinitely without anyone knowing. So as we speak now, he's remanded at Kuje prison, and he's going to be there at least until the 11th, which is 7 days from yesterday. That's the latest update.
Yes, can you clarify exactly who he says sprayed something into his cell?
He said, and I'm quoting him directly, he said it was the DCP at the National Cybercrime Center. That's the deputy director of the National Cybercrime Center under the Nigerian Police Force, who happens to be by rank a deputy commissioner of police. So, the commissioner of police in charge of the NCCC is CP Uche Henry. So he says his deputy, whose name I've been unable to get hold of, that person visited his cell, even though he had no business doing that, visited his cell, sprayed a toxic substance into his cell. And since then, he has been unable to breathe properly, and he's having issues with his windpipe. He can't breathe or speak properly.
All right. And I'm hoping that having spoken about this, David, that there'll be some investigation done regarding the allegations of the attempt on his life, even though I don't know how many people have hope about that. But let's talk about treason against these men who were protesting. Some of the arguments that we've seen in support of this would be those who say that treason is attempting to illegally unseat a government, and especially because they were waving Russian flags. What grounds do they have to be able to charge them to treason, a crime punishable by death?
Well, first of all, let's be clear on something. Trying someone for treason under a democratic government is almost unheard of. Treason is it's essentially a military offense, right? So you try sort of soldiers who turn into fifth columnists or intelligence agents who decide to play both fields. Those are the people who typically get tried for something like treason or spies, foreign spies who carry out espionage, right? Now, where you have a group of civilian protesters being tried for treason, that, to the best of my knowledge, is unheard of in Nigeria, even under a military administration, right? You can say that, oh, so such and such person was holding a Russian flag, or they were calling for the military to take over or whatnot. There have been several such incidents across Africa. It's not unique to Nigeria. As recently as 2021, for example, 2022, when the coup in Burkina Faso, I believe it was, that brought Captain Ibrahim Traore into power, which he is currently. In the lead up to that coup, the people of Burkina Faso had been engaged in a nationwide protest movement for weeks. And in that protest movement, there were a lot of things that happened that were far in excess of anything that we saw during the End Bad Governance protests. There were all the flags of all manner of foreign countries that were being flown. Police stations were burnt down. Uniformed men were attacked. All sorts of things took place, and you didn't see anybody get tried for treason when the military government finally came in, because it was understood that at the end of the day, whether it's a civilian government, a military government, whatever form of government, even a monarchy, governments exist at the mercy of the people. If the people don't agree for there to be a government, there is no government. The government can only exist when the people agree for the government to exist. So a government cannot go around sort of just, pardon my French, peeing on a great height from people on people and acting as if it derives no legitimacy from people on the ground and just doing whatever it likes. But in Nigeria now, we have a situation where the president and those around him seem to have completely given up on the idea that they're ever going to be a popularly accepted administration with any kind of legitimacy or credibility. They seem to have completely given up on that idea. It seems to me that President Tinubu knows and accepts that nobody likes him and nobody takes him seriously in that position. So he seems to be of the opinion that, well, I'm just going to do whatever I want and there's nothing you can do about it because I'm the president and I have the power and I'll show you what it means to have presidential power. If you recall, sometime in 2013 or was it 2014, he was quoted as having made a statement when referring to the then president Goodluck Jonathan. He made the statement in Yoruba, but the translation went something along the lines of, "This boy doesn't know what to do with power." Right? Clearly, now that he's in power, he feels like he knows what to do with power. He understands how to use the levers of state and how to use the tools of the security and defense establishment that he has at his disposal to do just absolutely whatever he likes. So yes, protesters now are getting charged with treason, which is unprecedented to the best of my knowledge in Nigerian history. In addition to getting charged with treason, they're also getting charged with so in the case of Pidom, he was charged. If you read the first count on his charge sheet, it says very in plain English that his offense was that he promoted a political movement, or he promoted a movement with the hashtag End Bad Governance in Nigeria, which sought to compel the Nigerian government to take certain actions that it may not have wanted to take. So, in other words, what that count said, what the alleged offense here is that under a democratic system, a citizen or a group of citizens sought to make their voice heard in such a way as to compel their government to do something which is in their interest, which, as far as I'm aware, is the entire purpose of democracy. So if you call yourself a democracy, but you are literally prosecuting people who are trying to do the things that are democratic, that are constitutionally protected rights under what purports to be a constitutional democracy and electoral democracy, then it then begs the question: is this actually even pretending to even be any kind of democracy anymore, or are we back to the days of Abacha under someone who happens to wear civilian clothing? Because the impression I'm getting now is that Nigeria is turning into Cameroon now, where we have one man one old man who has personalized the state. So, basically the way Paul Biya is, in the words of the the French monarch of old, l'état c'est moi. Tinubu is now l'état in Nigeria.
All right.
To the best of my knowledge, I can't think of any time in human history where a country with 200 plus million people, the state of such a country hasn't personalized by one single individual, but we seem to be witnessing it now in real time, which is absolutely incredible to my eyes.
All right. I mean, there's still a lot more that I believe will happen in the next couple of weeks, months. But I want to also know, your links with. They, of course, have declared you wanted with regards to your links with PDOM Nigeria. So, can you share with us? Did you have any, a long-standing relationship with him? Were you friends? Did you have regular interactions? Anything like of that sort?
I mean, yeah, he was a fairly well-known whistleblower, and I would go as far as to say that despite some initial reluctance on my part, because I tend to work alone, but yeah, we did strike up some sort of a friendship over the course of years. We weren't like working as a team or anything like that, but we did have a fairly cordial relationship. We did share information from time to time because obviously journalists and whistleblowers do have to look out for each other, especially when it comes to security. And yeah, we did have a cordial relationship, something even approaching a working relationship sometimes. So yeah, I'm not going to deny that because there's nothing to deny. I didn't do anything wrong, and for that matter, neither did he. So if it's the case that the Nigerian police force or the intelligence establishment, security establishment is of the opinion that what PDOM Nigeria, who is alleged to be Isaac Bristol, has done somehow contravenes national security, then to the best of my knowledge, how that is supposed to go in what purports to be democracy is that you're supposed to prove it in courts, as against just going on TV and doing a press conference and almost effectively declaring someone a criminal. Because it seems like that's the new trend in Nigeria, that you are guilty until proven innocent, which contravenes the 99 Constitution. As flawed as it is, it still says that assumed innocence is a basic foundational right of a Nigerian citizen. It seems like that's no longer the case now. A police officer can just go on TV and just call people's names and effectively criminalize them. And there's, to the best of my knowledge, even though there's no constitutional backing for that, that just flies now. So the police PRO goes on TV and says that a journalist is wanted in the course of a criminal investigation. And somehow that is allowed to fly. I can't think of a time in Nigeria where it has been as bad as this. And this is happening under a supposed civilian elected administration. It's completely wild to me.
Right. I wish that we would have some time to bring in the Andrew Wine and Lucky part of the conversation. If we do, maybe we can touch on that quickly. But how do you think this will end for PDOM, for starters? How do you think it will end? Andrew Wine, on his own part, has said he's willing to speak with the Nigerian police. Are you willing to speak with the Nigerian police? And do you trust that there will be a fair investigation for PDOM? And in this case, now that you've been declared wanted, for you, will you submit yourself to them?
So first of all, I'm not going to dignify the word investigation with an acknowledgement, because when you're investigating something, it means that some wrongdoing potentially has taken place. This is a political, this whole thing is politically instigated. This is a political investigation. So I don't feel like I'm subject to anybody's questioning. If it was that there was some sort of criminal activity that was in question, then sure, I'd be happy to submit myself because I have never committed a crime, and I'd be happy to claim my name. This is not a criminal investigation. This is political persecution. So even under the terms, even under international law, everyone has a right to have freedom from political persecution. So in the situation that I'm in now, I don't see why I would, submit myself to speak to the Nigerian police force. I have nothing to talk to them about. And for that matter, neither does PIDO. The entire issue with him is that he has, his activities have caused severe embarrassment to the government, which is a political issue. In my case, it's even worse because my work has caused more than just embarrassment to the government. My work was very key in um, certain events that took place last year, which came very close to compromising the presidency of Bola Tinubu. Clearly, this man has a grudge. Everybody knows why Bola Tinubu has a grudge against me. It's not a secret. There's no journalist alive or dead that has come closer than I have to basically ruining this man's life. Due to his own actions. By the way, this wasn't a personal thing. This is just a professional obligation that I thought I had, and I still have. So clearly, he has a grudge against me. This has gone as far as the UN Human Rights Council. I'm sure I don't need to reference that again. I've spoken to the 54th session of the UN Human Rights Council, which held in Geneva on September 27 last year, and I said it to the world. The president of Nigeria is trying to create the situation for some sort of refoulement to take place so that I can be taken to Nigeria, tortured, possibly killed. Because he has a grudge against me. I'm the one that exposed the fact that he used to be a drug dealer and, has all sorts of other question marks in his past. I'm that journalist. He clearly there's a political grudge there. That's what all of this is about. So then sort of roping me into something which doesn't even have anything to do with me in the first place, and then, creating this whole narrative that, there's some criminal investigation and David Hundein is somehow implicated and he has a case to answer. We know what is really going on here. Someone wants to put my name on an Interpol notice list so that if I try and travel to the wrong country, even though the list is supposed to be advisory instead of binding, then that country might decide to do business with Nigeria. That's what all of this is about. There's a political grudge in Abuja. I'm at the top of somebody's list in Abuja. Somebody wants me returned to Nigeria to face the consequences for saying the unsayable. In Nigeria, it's as simple as that. And,
All right.
well, I understand that politically speaking, whoever is in power has the right to be upset because, what I have done has been very damaging, both locally and internationally. But first of all, I haven't told a single lie. So, my conscience is completely clear. And secondly, even under international law, there are all sorts of protections against this. So I understand that for certain people in Abuja, rules appear to be things that are completely optional, right? But outside of Nigeria, that's not how the world works. So no, under no circumstances am I going to submit myself to the Nigeria Police Force. For any reason, Nigeria Police Force has no jurisdiction over me.
All right. David, thank you for joining us this morning. We unfortunately have run out of time. Would have loved to have you again, or we will love to have you again, because there are more layers to this conversation that we hope we can explore. But thank you so much for being with us, and we wish you all the best. Do stay well.
Thank you for having me.
All right. This is where we wrap up the show this morning. Thank you to all our viewers. The show continues, or the station continues with other broadcasts, but we will be back again same time tomorrow, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. I am Olive Emodi.
And I am Osaogi Ogbawa. See you tomorrow.